Today, we're going to cover two topics that I think are relevant for everyone. Well, unfortunately, no one gave me any suggestions for a video, but I'm going to cover some topics that I think everyone will enjoy. I'll be honest, though. Yesterday, when I made the Christmas targeted video, I had planned on giving out a phone number. But, some of the people that come through here are pretty hostile. They are. Whether they disagree with me on something and don't want to do it like an adult, or they're just out there causing trouble. So I didn't do it for that reason. But anyway, we're going to cover the topic first about being surveilled, whether targeted individuals are being watched in the way that they believe that they are, because obviously people who experience group harassment are experiencing a lot of invasion into their privacy, into their life. There's really no question about that at all. The real question is how, and I think that it can manifest in a lot of different ways. I think technology is definitely involved. I think people's phones are being hacked. I think that a lot of times they're experiencing, break-ins. People might be bugging their dwelling or putting cameras in there, but not necessarily. And that's what I'm going to get to, because that stuff is easy. Anybody can do that, okay? And when you get into the higher forms of harassment, it just goes beyond. It does. Targeted individuals deal with that, it's dimensional street theater, I'm going to call it. Maybe I'll make a video about that. But, they're dealing with information that goes to the level of, clairvoyance. A lot of targeted individuals talk about that. They believe that people, that beings, whatever, are reading their mind or monitoring their thoughts. And I don't know. I could get into that part of it, but I want to focus on the spiritual dimension. Okay, I want to look at that, because when you get into that type of street theater, or that type of kind of almost a foreknowledge area where people are maybe running, or they're moving from job to job, and it's just like it's waiting. A lot of people get into the hive mind, and I get all that. Okay, that's part of it, but there's more. And when you get into that type of clairvoyant street theater, you're talking about things that are dimensional. Okay, and I've talked about that, where the perspective of the spiritual dimension is different. If you've got someone in an airplane or whatever who is farther away from the center of gravity, their clocks are going to read different. Their watches are going to have different times on them. And just, imagine the spiritual dimension in that aspect. And, that opens up a lot of areas. And I think targeted individuals, when they're dealing with that, when they're dealing with something that is, along those lines of higher harassment, where it seems that their thoughts are being probed, or, the things are waiting for them, or whatever, or they're moving around in their dwelling, and, if they're in an apartment, it seems like people know where they are. As, you gotta wonder if someone has a camera, are they watching me? Do they know that I just woke up, or whatever? A lot of targeted individuals would deal with that, where their dwelling is attacked. They'll wake up and they might walk into a certain room, and boom, on the wall or something. And it's like, how'd they know? How did they know that I was moving into this room? And they might start tiptoeing around their house, or being covert, turn the lights down or whatever, pretending like they're asleep. And it seems like somehow the people, or whatever is after them, knows. And there's no way There's no way they could know. And I think it gets to the point where it is. You're dealing with that spiritual dimension. And, you have the cause and effect. And, in that type of time dilation, you have people who are experiencing time in different ways. We'd be kind of lagging behind in our little experience, and maybe the spiritual dimension is I don't know, 40 years, 100 years, I don't know, a couple 100 years ahead of us. Who knows? I mean, I'm speculating. I'm not trying to create anything or any kind of theory that's proven. I don't know how else to explain it. And we know that other stuff exists. So I don't know. It's really the only thing that I can think of. And when targeted individuals get to that point where they believe that there's cameras, or maybe even somebody's hacking their phone, or they go to a hotel or whatever, and they assume that they're being watched by something, it might not be. It could be. It could very well be that, but maybe it isn't. Maybe you're dealing with something else. Something that doesn't need a camera. Something that doesn't need to hack your phone. Something that can watch you. Maybe in a different perspective. From another dimension. And with that, we're going to launch into, the idea of, where America is in prophecy, and what are the possibilities that are coming at us for world events. First, let's talk about technology. We are moving into areas that are beyond designer babies, all kinds of things. People are talking about transhumanism, but it could go to that level, But here's the problem. Okay, look at the Middle East. Okay, look at the religious systems that are around the world. Okay, and, a lot of people try to fit America into Bible prophecy. I don't see it there. I think we play a part in what's going on in the Middle East, in the sense that we had a hand in helping, the Jewish people regather in Israel. Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as the capital. Okay, that's a big deal. That's fulfilled prophecy. The prophecies of Jeremiah, they're going to be regathered after they were scattered after 70 AD, and here they are, and now Jerusalem's the capital again. It's not possible for that stuff to be a coincidence, and I think America played a big role in that. Problem is, when you try to fit in you or, a country or whatever into the book of Revelations, you can run into problems. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But looking at the Middle East is more significant, in my opinion. Okay, so what's going on around there? Well, we've got, Gog and Magog reforming. A lot of people think that's Russia. There's two ways to figure that out. You can go in and do the wild goose chase and look at the lineage of the people and where they are now. And, they're mostly in Russia. Or you can look at the geographical area from ancient times, which was Turkey. Okay. And when you look at the kingdoms of the earth, and I've talked about those before, you end up with the Ottoman Empire, the Caliphate, right? And right now, what's going on? Well, the dictator caliphate is rising up again. Recep Tayyip Erdogan is doing that, and he's got his eye on Israel, and he's talking about taking it over. And so getting back to the point, you have different religious systems, okay? We have the one world government forming, and there's kind of a method of kind of melding a lot of things together to where there's tolerance. And the whole idea that people would be in a religious war is becoming, we'll just say, upsetting to the rest of the culture. Okay, so you have all the religions. You can look at all those, and you can look at where they are in the world too. You can Google that on a map, And then you got these two monergistic Abrahamic religions. One is backed up by archaeology and science as legitimate, and the other one, well, that's the Muslim religion. Okay, that's got a lot of problems in it. We're not going to go into that, but you can see all the nations. Okay, look at that. That's the map of the Muslim nations. And what do they believe? They believe some pretty radical stuff. I don't have anything against Muslim people. I'm not, against them personally, but we know that when you get into the religion, that the only way to really guarantee that you enter into heaven is through jihad, right? And that's the way it is. That's just reality. Okay, that's the way it is. And they are, they are totally against Israel, and they believe that belongs to them. That's what all the wars are about around, that area. And they're 2 billion strong now. Actually, a little bit more than that. Okay, that's like a fourth the population of the world. It's pretty big. They've got a huge influence around the Middle East, and that land around there is valuable. Now we've got Africa, and Africa has a lot of natural resources, but they don't have the infrastructure to really, get that going. So what do we got going on? Well, speculatively a lot. If you want to look at AIDS as a bioweapon, that's kind of scary, okay, because I believe that's true. We're not going to go into that anymore. But you have the interest in all those natural resources over there, and yeah, AIDS is a huge problem over in Africa. And if that's true, well, the implications, well, you can figure that out. China is outsourcing to Africa. They put in a lot of infrastructure for them. Why? They want the natural resources and cheap labor. We did the same thing to China. Okay? We did. And so there's going to be a lot of people who are very interested in what happens over there. And if things get heated up, which they're gonna, you've got Turkey. They're trying to break off, and that's going to almost turn into an island. If Recep Tayyip Erdogan gets his way, he wants to create another trade route to get around the other ones, and there's a lot of them over there. And then we have, of course, the Persian Gulf. All right, that's over 20% of the oil that the world uses, and I'm talking about the whole world. And when you shut down the Persian Gulf, and a lot of people have talked about doing it, well, that's gonna be a problem for everybody, right? And the Bible says that God's gonna put a hook in the jaw of the nations and draw them around there. So you've got Africa, you've got the natural gas in the Mediterranean, you've got all the trade routes, and then you got the oil in Arabia and the Persian Gulf, and there's gonna be trouble. And guess who's gonna start the trouble? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's gonna be the caliphate, right? And who knows when that's going to happen. Israel is always talking about strikes. We've got the nuclear deal on the table all the time. Nobody wants those guys to get mass destructive weapons. And that's a good idea because of the way their religion works, right? You have to deal with reality when it comes to that. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. And Bible prophecy talks about the Holy Land being, a burdensome stone. Everybody's already tired of this war that's been going on for thousands of years. And it goes back to the lineage of Ishmael and Esau and Isaac and Jacob and, the true Israel. And that's, in my opinion, that's where we're headed, guys. So are they going to cause a problem? Obviously, yes. That's going to be one of the things that lights this whole thing off. But when? That's the question. And, Damascus is prophesied to be literally uninhabitable and, blown to smithereens. Israel is tired of getting messed with. They've got nuclear weapons. So that could be the next event on the calendar. But a lot of people are thinking this might go further and that the world could turn into a place like that futuristic, scenario that you might watch in a movie or something. But I don't know. And the thing that you want to watch is what's going on in Africa, all the mineral rights in the Mediterranean and all that. Keep your eye on Turkey, watch what Europe is doing. And this is all going to come down to what's happening in the Middle East. Guys, be good to yourselves. Be safe.